Nothing clever.
Right.
Nope.
No. Don't always have something clever.
That's fine.
Okay, Dan.
Yeah.
Say the clever thing.
What? No. No, don't put me on the spot. I hate this. I hate everything about this. No, I refuse.
It's like how it should have been the whole time. Hello.
770.
Dear.
Yeah, we're off to a good start.
I will stop.
I will start. I'm Joe.
I'm Ken.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Dan.
We are the Rewinders podcast, rewinding and rebooting movies to see if they hold up. And this time, we uncovered the Holy Crusade of Indiana Jones and his Last Crusade.
Last, second to last,
I-
middle
I-
crusade. Who knows?
Well, 2 episodes of Indiana Jones movies. We kind of get that idea.
Yeah.
We'll see. Maybe the next movie's going to be really good.
You shut your dirty mouth.
Yes, it has to be. I think they need to include lens
More
flares.
lens
More of
flares.
them.
Oh, yeah, totally. Tons of lens flares. And
Yeah, there were more lens flares in Temple of Doom than there were in Last Crusade.
yeah. So, yeah. Yeah.
I liked the trailer up until the very last bit.
Oh my god. So, this was undoubtedly my favorite movie trailer of all time after just watching it for the first time tonight. It kicks off with that amazing punch right in the beginning of "One Jones is not enough," and I was sold. I was losing my shit. I was like, this is the greatest! And then to end it off with Keeping Up with the Joneses, I cringed. I felt my skin prickle up, and I just, oh god. Why?
They were doing so well.
They were! I will say, though, the thing I didn't like is it gave away every single one of Sean Connery's best one-liners in the movie.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Like, everyone is in there.
I don't know. Connery had so many good ones. Had I paper with me, I could have written some of them down.
I was planning on jotting them down as I watched, but I'll be honest, I was taking notes, and then the second Connery was on screen,
Stop.
it's like everything fell apart for me.
Everything note-taking stopped.
Yup. The movie just becomes its own thing after that. It's just, Alright, so, before I get down that path. So yeah, the trailer was pretty great. I liked it. I think it's the best of the 3 in my opinion. It still sucks they gave all his one-liners away, but it was a solid-ass trailer.
Yeah, I agree. It
I
was
don't think a
definitely
lot
good.
of plot was good. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just agreeing, so it's kind of redundant. Why don't you, I feel like you're going to bring something new, so go ahead.
Oh. So I was. Oh.
Sorry.
What was I gonna say now? Yeah. Well, maybe that's what I was gonna say. It was gonna be that it had me excited to see the movie because it was a. Hey, you remember what just happened in that last movie? Forget that. That's we're doing Indiana Jones. Here's a Nazi, punch. Here's wrestling on a tank, punch. Here's this goofy one-liner and the Holy Grail.
Absolutely. It calls back to all the great things from the first movie. Even
Yes.
we're going across 3 continents.
Yes, I'll get back to this more like towards the end of this, but like that for me is like what works so well with this movie, and at the same time, just it's like a double-edged sword for me. I love that it did that because this movie is so damn strong, but at the same point, I feel like it undid what could have been in some ways. Because, like I said in the last episode we did, it really falls into. There's 2 desert indie movies and a jungle one, and I love the jungle, so it's just like. It makes me wonder what could have been had they not had to save face and basically make essentially Raiders 2. I'm gonna go there, but yeah,
You can go there because
Yeah, I
you
went there.
loved last episode so much, and I absolutely hated it.
I had a greater appreciation for it.
Yeah, that is definitely different things.
That being said, though, this is my indie movie. This is the movie I grew up
Mine
with.
too.
This is the one that I was always on. This is the one when I think of Indiana Jones, this is the one I think about. All the scenes in this one for the most part. I love Raiders. Raiders is a fine film. I agree that it's a classic and it's an almost perfect film. Temple, I understand its shortcomings, but I like it just because it's different. And it tried something different, which I respect. This one, I don't know. For me, it's got everything. It's got everything that Raiders had. It's got the heart that you wouldn't expect, and that's what really drives this one going forward. So I don't know. It was just always on for me. This is the one that I think about. This is my indie. I mean, I tried making replicas of Jones's journal for years and things like that. This is the one that gets me all pumped up.
So the thing about Temple was that I didn't like the comedy aspects that they used. They seemed out of place to me, and it really took me out of the movie. All of the comedy aspects in Last Crusade fit within the scenes that they're being used in, and that's what I like about it so much.
They do so well, and just the learning between father and son throughout the whole film, and the jokes being interspliced with that. It just, there's so much payoff both comically and emotionally throughout this film. It's amazing.
So when I think of my quintessential, however you want to say it, Jones movie, I always think it's Raiders. You got all the classic stuff in there that you always harken back to. However, it's not all of it, because there's so many things from this movie that come out in everyday things like No Ticket. And it belongs in a museum.
Yup.
There's just so much that's become part of everyday life that this one kind of is, even if you don't really care for the movie, which I find it hard to do that. Like it's been kind of overplayed in my head, but even so, whenever I go back and watch it, it's still an enjoyable experience.
Oh, for sure. There's so many good one-liners, like you said. I mean, like you said, we could literally fill a book with one-liners, and that's what they did. They made a 2-hour picture of that. So, I mean, I always harken back to the ones that you said. I always go back and think about just some of my favorite one-liners in this film. I mean, frickin' A. I mean, Henry Jones Sr., you left just when you're becoming interesting. That's one of my hands-down favorites.
That's my favorite.
Yes.
I don't know.
That is my favorite
My favorite's gonna sit
of all
as,
time in the entire movie.
We named the dog Indiana.
Yes. Had a lot of fond memories of that dog.
That's my favorite one. Yep.
I'm just like an overflowing geyser when it comes to talking about this movie, because this movie means so damn much to me.
So, how did you watch what I guess I would also consider peak Indiana Jones? When did you start watching it, Andy?
That's a tough one. So I think Last Crusade was usually on because my parents would be watching it. And I actually didn't didn't watch the whole thing the first few times it was probably playing. Then sometime around, I guess, middle school probably is when I really watched... No, not even middle school. That's way too late. I'd say probably 4th or 5th grade I watched Raiders. Dad introduced me to Raiders, and then it was just kicked off like that. It went nuts. I honestly couldn't remember Temple of Doom as a child, but Last Crusade was just the one that was always on. I watched Raiders maybe once or twice. Of course, I had a fondness for the rolling ball and everything else, but I don't know. Temple was just not there. But Last Crusade, it was just the one that we had a copy of. It was always the one that everybody seemed to want to watch. It was always the one that everybody referenced. I mean, growing up, they had the pinball machine at a bowling alley that I went to almost every weekend with my family. So playing that and having, shooting the ball and hearing that you chose poorly, just, oh my God, everything about this film is just ingrained in my personal memory from being a child, and I freaking love it. Which is probably why I'm so damn harsh towards Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but we'll get to that next time.
Dan, how about you? When did you start watching this?
It would have had to have been 4th or 5th grade at the earliest. I can't remember watching it the first time, but I was still in elementary school.
What was your memory of it during that time?
Yeah, the movie is what I remember it. It is just, it's a lot of high action. It's a lot of good interactions between all the characters. I really loved this movie. I really did. If given a chance to watch it, I would be like, hey, I don't care. I watched it 3 days ago. Let's watch it again. It was just good.
That's absolutely the same effect I had, Dan. I mean, I love Raiders. There's nothing wrong with Raiders. Raiders has some of my favorite movie moments, and it's a damn good movie. But I still, when we got to watching it, I was just like, I guess I'm watching Indiana Jones again. But watching Temple, it's like, okay, I'm excited because I don't remember anything about this. But getting to this, it was just like a kid on Christmas waiting to watch this again.
I think the amount of times that I've watched Last Crusade makes it to like that I have this dissonance with what movie comes first.
And I noticed that.
And Last Crusade has always been the first movie in my mind, and Temple being just the in-between movie that I didn't like, and Raiders of the Lost Ark being the last.
Yeah, I completely understand that, and you'll appreciate this, Dan. When I was talking to Ken and Joe prior to filming about these episodes a couple weeks back, as I started to talk about like my excitement to watch it again and started like listing off all my favorite parts, they stood there and they were like, "Oh yeah, that isn't that movie. Oh my god, that isn't that movie. That isn't that movie." Like they started to slowly realize that, oh shit, most of the stuff that we remember from Indiana Jones that we loved is in the third movie. So.
Yep. If it wasn't the opening scene and the wax Nazis, was it really Raiders?
No. Raiders has one of the best damn openings, but this opening, oh my god,
it's good because it brings so much of the story into the viewers, like right in front of the viewer. So
yeah.
Now you understand why Indy hates snakes.
Yep.
Now you understand why Indy has this thing about making sure that artifacts are where they belong.
Yep. I mean, even something arbitrary like getting the gash across his chin. It's just interesting to see that. It's so much fun right out the gate. There's just so much movie magic going on. It's so great. But I don't want to skip... Hold on. I don't want to skip too far ahead because, Joe, we didn't really ask you your history with this movie.
So, like I've said, Temple of Doom was the one probably I watched the most.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I think that harkens to just, I guess, the age difference type thing where that hit at that certain time. Now, I did watch Last Crusade quite a bit, which in hindsight, it's like, yeah, I know this whole movie forwards and backwards. I guess I never really thought about it that way. But I think one of the reasons why this one just clings is that when I was younger, I played some of these Indiana Jones point-and-click adventures from LucasArts.
Yes.
And the one that I remember is Fate of Atlantis.
Uh-huh.
But that one isn't the one that I'm thinking of. Yeah, I must have at some point played the Last Crusade graphic adventure point-and-click game because I kind of looked through Fate of Atlantis and I'm like, I remember punching Nazis in a castle. I must have played a Last Crusade game at some point as a point-and-click adventure. But all those point-and-click adventures kind of stole from the movies to be like, hey, you remember punching Nazis in front of propellers? Do it again. And it's fun, so you do it again.
You do it again just like Indy.
And this is basically one of those point-and-click adventures, but in movie form, so I don't have to sit there and agonize over screens where I'm like, I don't know this puzzle, damn it. And, it's pre-internet to the point where I'm like, I don't want to dial up to a bulletin board system in Green Bay and ask on a board there and wait 2 days for someone to answer how to get through a puzzle. So the movie was better in that case. I also really enjoyed seeing the child version of Indiana Jones and how little things ended up becoming big character traits for him.
There's a reason
even
why
down
I
to his
like
scar on his
young
chin.
Indiana Jones as much as I do. That's one of the reasons.
I can't get over the
Except
one.
I didn't like the TV series.
I can't get over the one glaring issue with that though. What was it?
Yeah.
Patrick Duffy or who took over the role from River Phoenix? I mean, River Phoenix in this film was holy shit. That performance right out the gate was just incredible.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. I feel like we didn't get to see him in enough things, obviously, but holy shit, that was young Harrison Ford. I mean, that was so well portrayed. And I don't know. I haven't given the series a good enough shot. I think I might go back and try it, Dan.
Do it.
Is
Do
it
it.
Is it Patrick Duffy?
Researching.
Sure. Why not? It's Patrick Duffy.
It's sure.
There's no way to find this out.
Nope.
We're not.
I'm not
Totally
doing
not.
it.
Now I'm going to take up a contrarian point and say it's not necessary. You don't need to know why he's afraid of snakes. You don't really need to know why he really wants things in museums. In fact, this doesn't necessarily cover that. It's more so kind of like his relationship with his dad that more so firms that up. And I think that the ending of the scene where he tries to get his dad's attention, his dad doesn't like show him any attention, instead makes him count to whatever in Greek.
Yeah.
20.
I mean, that is telling, because I mean that's like he's old Jones trying to get young Jones, like the patience and the education. However, he's really missing out on, hey, this is a really big moment. And I don't know if he ever does find out that Indiana Jones had
Junior.
Cross of Coronado in his hand.
It's Junior.
Henry and Indy.
Junior.
We'll do that because.
Junior.
Well, okay, fine.
Junior.
Henry and Junior.
I just need to interject quick. I was way off. It's not Patrick Duffy. It's Sean Patrick Flannery. Completely different person.
It's basically like...
There's a Patrick in there.
That is correct.
I almost called him Sean Duffy for a second. It's almost Patrick Duffy.
Sean Duffy Combs.
God. You just made me think of something, Ken. You made me think of something, and I don't know. I'm internalizing why I feel this way, and I can't rationalize my thoughts right now, but why am I okay with this movie doing little things like showing how he got his cut, like going over the fear of snakes, like towards the end talking about how he got his name Indiana? Yet, I mean, for a glaring opposite side of the fence, it's like Solo. I absolutely hated when they threw in the little stupid bit where he got his name. Like, I don't know. I guess it's just a difference in directing. It's a difference in the way it was presented, maybe. But I have no issues with Indy versus Han Solo.
It's a difference in age of which you consumed it.
I think that might be part of it, which makes me sad. But I'm trying internally not to admit that.
But also, back when this movie came out, the idea of having a... Mabel... The idea of God damn it, Mabel.
You've got control of this situation.
What was I talking about? So back when this movie came out, there was a lot less focus on origin stories, and we have been inundated with origin stories for the past 10 years, and that can get really frustrating, and you kind of pulls it into your attention that it says, hey, this isn't necessary to know. It takes away that also, so the way Solo got his name could very well be Solo. It wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
Why India is scared of snakes? It's not necessary. People have fear of snakes. I think I talked about this in the first movie when he gets in the airplane and there's a snake in there, and I said, oh, look, it's a snake. He's scared of snakes. We don't need an explanation for that. It just makes sense.
And that's true, because we see the same thing happen in this film with Henry Jones Sr. He tells him that there are rats, and you see it on his face like, oh, shit, rats.
Oh, shit, rats. Never mind. I'm good.
Yeah.
I didn't need to go down into that catacomb.
Exactly. We don't know why he's afraid of rats, but he just is.
You don't really need to. And now that we're talking about it, I'm a little bit curious. However, it's not necessary to know.
And I think that's one of the things that drives me nuts is just, especially movies nowadays, they don't leave any room for wonder. They freaking spoon feed you literally everything just to make sure you understand. And
Which is sad.
It is very sad.
Sure. What I was trying to say, what I really like about that intro sequence is just at the end, you get the dynamics between Henry and Indy.
Junior. Indy's the dog.
He's also the person.
Absolutely. And I mean, I feel like we're getting way ahead of ourselves here, but I mean, just that scene where he's holding on to Harrison Ford's arm and calls him Indiana. Oh man. Still, goosebumps because it's so damn well done.
Well, we don't have to hold back. We can talk about what we like about this film.
Yeah, not much. Just kidding. This is a great movie.
Is Ken taking a me?
He is.
No.
What?
No,
what?
I thought it would be fun after.
I'm not. I'm going to be gushing about this all night.
I thought it'd be fun after talking so glowingly about it before we even got to the what we like section to say it wasn't a good movie.
You monster.
You're going to talk
You
all
monster.
butterflies and rainbows and then flush it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I need to get this out of the way right off the bat. Can we talk about double intros? This is the only movie I can think of where it has two incredible intros back to back. Like, seriously, the intro with young Indiana Jones, a whole chase sequence, followed up by the second intro of old Indiana Jones being decked in the face on a ship in the middle of a storm. Like, what the hell? What an incredible transition into a new movie.
And it takes that little mini story and puts a little bow on it.
It so does. It so does.
Never mind that somehow that ship exploded in the middle of nowhere, the ocean, and I was going to say Michael floated ashore, but Indy floated
trust me,
ashore.
I've got that for later. He seems to have the best luck in surviving any kind of maritime disasters.
He's reptilian. I think that's what we're learning.
I think so.
here.
Amphibian?
And I think over the course of 3 movies, we really learned that he just has the best luck out of any human being to ever walk the face of this planet.
You could say he was touched by God.
Oh.
Is this another prequel?
Oh, no.
Oh no. All right, so yeah, things we enjoyed. I mean, yeah, it's going to be hard reining this in without really just gushing the living crap out of it, but I mean, there's so many good ones, and I mean, even looking at my list right now, I can honestly say at least half of it is just quotes that I enjoy.
One-liners. So many good one-liners. And I don't know if that is just because of the fact that I'm paying attention to this movie more because I enjoy it more, or if it's just because of the way that the script was written and the amount of chemistry across all the characters.
It is so well done. I didn't realize until seeing the movie how much I missed Marcus and Sala, like having them back. Like, just the dynamic between everybody in this film is so well done. And even Elsa, newcomers like Elsa, she was so good at her role. And she was strong, she was commandeering, and for good reason. I freaking loved it.
Made you want to hate her.
She was better than Willie.
But then you also wanted her to redeem herself at some point. It's just like, don't be really bad. Come back. You were good. You showed that you were good.
Don't join the Nazis. Come back. Come back.
But she is a Nazi. She didn't just join them.
Yeah.
She is a Nazi the
No,
whole time.
she's not a Nazi. She's a German scholar. She's not a Nazi.
See,
She's
she
a
had
German
tears in
scholar.
her eyes. She had tears in her eyes when they were burning books. She's an okay person.
She's a Nazi
Yeah.
enableizer. She allowed it to happen by not doing anything to fight against it.
She'd
Yeah.
probably end up getting put
Except
in
for
jail
she let
for
Indiana
war
Jones
crimes and
go.
Things of that nature.
Yeah. She did. She'd let him go.
Doesn't mean he'd get away.
Right. That doesn't really count for anything because a few scenes later she says, "Oh, they got away. We should go get them."
Yeah. Oh my god. Just I don't know how to talk about this. Like, there's so much. The payoff of the throwaway comment of X never ever marks the spot when he's in his classroom. I mean, everything down to the score. I think the score for this film is hands down my favorite of the 3.
I was getting a kind of a Star Wars vibe from it this time
in
around.
some- yeah, in some
A lot
spots.
more. There was a lot more Star Wars feeling, and I don't know if that was intentional or if that was just because John does what John does.
John does what he do, and you don't ask John. You leave John alone,
John
Dad.
slaps you with a stick if you tell him what to do. Pokes
If
you
you're
in the
asking
eye.
John something, it better be to score your movie.
And then he'll say, "No, I'm retired, except for these 2 songs I'll do for the movie, and you better pay me for a full movie."
Yeah, and it better include wind instruments, damn it. It's all part of it.
I mean, I'm not going to tell him how to do his job.
Yeah, you don't tell John how to do his job.
Just one theremin. Come on.
All theremins.
Are you going to make science fiction movie or not? Theremins.
Were there any theremin in Star Wars?
I don't think so.
Should be.
I don't know if there needs
I'd
to
pay
be.
for that.
I mean, maybe in the
That
B-roll
was the-
film, theremin makes sense.
Yeah.
I was making a joke.
But if you want to hear it, you go Thursday nights on Rhinelander Public Radio for the Grazer Theremin Hour.
Ooh. I'm in.
They're theremin?
I'm Theremin for Grazier.
It doesn't make
Oh.
any sense because it's only a joke at work.
Yeah.
T-shirt?
Should get a
Yeah, it
t-shirt.
could be a
of
shirt. Maybe.
a Casual Friday T-shirt.
I'm a fan.
Really confuse them.
We all wear it.
Yes. Yes.
Rhinelander. How would you do that?
I have the graphic.
Thurman
I'll
for
have to
Grazer.
dig it back up. But
That's great.
anyway.
Yeah.
So I would like to say something about this movie, and that I believe that this movie, with the exception of how Donovan
McNabb?
dies.
The bad guy who's not really a bad guy?
Correct.
He's just morally
he's just
corrupt.
Morally corrupt and really greedy.
He wants to outlive the Nazis. Don't we all?
Yes.
It's not going to happen.
It's getting harder day by day.
But that's not why we're here. What I was going to say is, with the exception of his death, this movie had, I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe this had the least amount of gore in it.
Yes, and there's reason for that, because Spielberg definitely doubled down or doubled back after Temple of Doom. He felt so ashamed of Temple of Doom that he just completely changed course.
Yeah, I feel like he doubled back on the things that didn't need to be doubled. Like, the reason why, when Dan was saying that he felt like the jokes were all thrown in there in the Temple of Doom, is because they were. You had to do something to kind of contrast that violence. Whereas in this movie, there's not necessarily that violent pictures, so you can have the jokes arise more
Naturally.
organically.
Yeah. Or
Or at least you feel like you can have the jokes arrive more organically. I feel like they could have probably done a lot more gore in this movie and still done okay. It's a great movie. I'm not saying they should have. It was just something I noticed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, outside, like you said, the Grail scene and maybe the guy's head being chopped off and rolling away, I mean, there's nothing crazy. There's no body gore in this movie. Yeah, you watch a guy get shot in the head after a bullet ricochets inside of a tank and a couple small things like that, but...
I mean, the dude
there's the 3 people who get shot with 1 bullet, which is kind of
That was funny.
tank treaded.
Tank treaded, yep.
Yeah, but the tank treaded, like, in the other movies, there was, like, blood splatter and stuff like that when there comes to that weird, grotesque murder. And I was expecting to see, like, when the treads come back around, it covered in blood and, like, maybe a skull still attached to
Oh, man,
it.
it's surprising that there wasn't. You never made me think about that.
Yes.
You never made me think about that in all the time I've known you.
Oh. Well, I just did.
Well, yeah, thank you.
Congratulations.
First time for everything.
Woo!
But the guy who did fall off the tank and get run over. Wow, is that grammar correct? I don't think so. But
He got ran over.
that gentleman did a much better job than the guy in the first movie who fell off the transport truck and got run over.
Hey, come on. How hard do you think it is to lay on the ground and have somebody say, now, when you flail your arms and go, yeah.
That was all perspective. He had to react after the truck ran over him, otherwise the truck would actually have to run over him.
I don't think they're doing that for movies. Let's say at least
You
not
only
hope
get one
so.
shot at this.
We're out of stuntmen. I almost called them dummies. That's not right.
Yeah,
Stunt doubles?
That would have been mean.
We learned the dark
Maybe.
way what happens when you only get one take while filming a movie, and I don't think the world's any better after the Twilight Zone movie came out.
Oh.
Oof. That still keeps me
I
up
thought you
at
were
night.
talking about the Blair Witch Project.
No,
That's
no.
dark.
That's very dark, and it still keeps me up to these nights. Like, just damn.
Wait, what does?
The Twilight Zone movie. What happened
Okay,
during
well, it
filming
should.
for that? Not the movie
I
itself.
don't know that backstory, but
Yeah,
now is not
no.
the time.
We'll go into that another time. But I mean, dear God, it's like it's one of the worst things you can imagine, and it pretty much cost a director his career and everything else. It's a good stuff. Good stuff. It's a good stuff.
It's not a good stuff. It sounds like a terrible
It is-
stuff, and I have no idea what
It
you're
is
talking
a
about.
terrible
I'm okay
stuff.
with that.
It's a terrible stuff. But anyways,
So for good stuff,
yeah. How about the map? The map's back
Yep, the map's
the
back.
map is back.
It was so
twice,
And they go
at
to
least.
more than 2 locations.
Yeah.
And on top of that, this movie introduces a new visual mechanic.
good. The
that
squiggly line? It's not a straight line?
Well, okay, that's not what I was going to talk about, but yeah, that's cool.
Dan just
too.
really loves his maps. Damn it.
It was neat. I was just like, oh look, the line's not moving in a straight line like it does when he's on a plane. That's because he's driving in a vehicle. That makes sense.
There you go.
This movie might account for my love of maps. Who knew? Didn't occur to me till just now.
Well, the visual elements that the series took on during Last Crusade that I thought was a great addition was the fact that they started using visuals that you would see in classic cowboy movies. And,
I'm assuming you mean outside of them riding into the sunset.
yes, there was more than just riding away into the sunset. That was just like the capstone of it. The problem was I wrote that was my first note, and I don't remember what it must have just been the generic everything about it, because it started in 1912, and video game nerds will know that the first Red Dead Redemption game also took place in 1912, which is not cowboy time. It was the end of that
Cowboy time.
But they did take on some of that element, and I think they represented it pretty well during this movie and added it on top of the American exceptionalism, adventure, dude, white guy goes out and does things and punches bears and steals gold and saves nations.
But then you also start off with bandits and someone going yee-hoo.
Yeah.
Which is pretty quintessential.
And a
cowboy.
very sweaty child blowing into a bugle. But I digress.
I also thought that at the beginning it kind of felt a little bit like Goonies, which
Yes!
was kind of fun.
Yeah, the world needs more
Little bit.
Goonies here and there.
Did Goonies come out before?
Yeah, I guess it did, didn't it?
Goonies was
Oh,
80s.
sure.
This was 90, wasn't it? Or 89?
Yeah, this was like 90 something. But yeah, Goonies definitely came
Goonies
out
was
before this.
85.
See, why are you asking questions when you could be Googling?
I'm Googling it as I'm asking the question.
The
so I
Last
know what I'm
Crusade.
asking about.
The Last Crusade came out on May 24th, 1989.
Oh my god.
So yeah, it's like somebody thought, like, you know what? I'd like to sprinkle a little Goonies in my Indiana Jones, please. And it
I
worked
was-
Well, they're
out.
both Spielberg.
They were.
I was
You got-
5 months old when this movie came out.
Oh, look at your baby.
I was barely over a year old.
What this?
I
When
was
did you say
alive.
this came out?
May 24th, 1989.
It's exactly 5 months
Oh.
old.
Hold on. I was just over. I just turned 5 years old.
Jeez, you guys, I was just over a year old. Dan, we're on the young wagon.
Here we are.
Sucker. I mean,
the old
What?
Wait a minute. I'm the sucker. Shit.
I don't know. Maybe you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but is this the first time we actually got to see his office? Because his office is freaking amazing.
It's a heater closet.
full of
boiler
old
closet.
dusty trinkets and relics, and just it's so good looking. It looks
I don't
so
think-
cozy.
He's in his classroom at the university in Raiders
Raiders.
and in
Yeah,
Temple.
Usually they come find him in his school place when they're gonna tell him there's an adventure.
which was another thing I noted down. How the hell does he keep his teaching job outside of Marcus Brody?
That's what I was thinking. They'd be like, we can't keep you on staff.
Yes, the entire student body is outside your door, and you just left.
But
You can't
also,
keep doing this.
But they really loved him in Raiders
they loved him in this movie.
Yeah.
They formed a
They
mob.
were swarming to his
because
door
they
like
wanted
flies. I mean,
their final grades.
That's exactly what I was going to get at. They weren't there because they were happy and wanted to force their time in to be with him. They wanted stuff from him because he hasn't been doing anything.
yep.
He doesn't need to do anything because he's a great adventurer.
Yes, he
Nope,
is out
'cause
doing
he's
things.
tenured.
He's out kicking ass and stuff.
Yeah, tenured. That's the word for it.
It's all he got this tenure, and then he's like, well, screw it. I'm going to go on adventures.
They can't fire me.
That's
I'm
really what it came
tenured.
down to.
I earned this.
Well, college professors have to do a certain amount of research.
Yeah,
I'm sure this goes towards his
he
research.
does a lot of
for-
research. A lot.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of chuckled when that happened, and then I just put two and two together and said, well, Brody probably keeps him hired. Whatever.
Yeah. A little slice of all the money he earns from his adventures he has to give to the school.
Yep.
Brody's probably the one doing the grading of the papers. So do we want to step into the things that we didn't like?
Oh, I don't know. There's
We'll
still
come
so
back to
many.
things that we like, too. It's not a problem.
There's so many. Oh God, I need to sort through and get rid of things that are just quotes that made me giggle.
I've already said it. I enjoyed the comedy that is in this movie so
Yes.
much more than Temple, and we've discussed it already. Like that right there is the biggest bullet point in my list of notes, is that the comedy works and doesn't grate.
And I can condense my notes down to that. Like, I'll just give one example. Like, I was belly laughing still after all these years of seeing the scene, knowing the quotes by heart. I still love that rough cut of Indy defending Brody, saying how he'll slip through and, nobody will ever find him, to him wandering in the streets asking if anybody speaks English. I love that. And then I love the whole payoff if he got lost in his own museum and everything, just spinning him as a lovable buffoon. He's just completely over his head when he's out in the field. There's so many things that work in this movie, just in terms of payoff jokes, where they say something once and then later on it's like, ha ha ha, I remember 20 minutes ago when they led up to that. Like you said, like the interaction between the characters is so heartfelt and so natural.
And another note I had on the same note is like, even when it comes to Brody and Henry, when they're in the tank and like they're trying, like working together to take out the Nazis, they have their own sort of nerdy humor.
Yes, with their little like college
that comes out at that time, where they're just being super nerds and.
He has to stop to say the quote about the pen mightier than the sword, and just their little like college mantra that they do as he jumps into the tank.
Yeah, exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, there's just so much to the characters, so much. They're not one-dimensional. You don't think you know them halfway through the film. You just keep learning more about how they are as people, and that's what's so good about this film.
Now, I'll take your they say one comedy line, and then 20 minutes later they say it again, and you're pleasantly surprised and happy and amused by it. I propose the line, Venice.
Yep.
Yes. When he leans in Elsa and says it one last time.
The first time he says it is when they're coming out of the sewer grate into a cafe out in the street, and people are like screaming and flipping tables because some dirty, smelly American just came out of the ground. And he's like, yeah,
he
screw
says
all you.
Venice just before... when they come out of the sewer grate, it's the second time that he says it. And then he says it the third time when they're in his bedroom.
Oh. So, fine. There's 3 times they say it.
That makes it even
better. I don't
better.
remember what the first one was. But the last one, Venice, after he starts making out with the lady, Nazi lady.
She's not
Elsa.
a Nazi.
No, I won't say her name. She doesn't. She's a Nazi. She doesn't deserve it. Now,
Fair.
the other times he said Venice, I was either A, okay, whatever, it's the line, or 2, ha ha ha, yes, pretentious people in Italy having coffee on the streets, and you just stunk it up. But the third time of looking at the camera with a cheesy ass smile and going, Venice, after making out with a Nazi.
He didn't know.
No.
And that leads to one of my favorite quotes, based off of the fact that he didn't know even more than what was happening, because according to Henry Jones Sr., she talks in her
Ships passing
sleep.
in the night.
See, but that's good because they say something without saying it.
I know. It's so well done.
And they didn't have to break the fourth wall and look at you through the camera lens and go, Venice.
I know. It's so subtle and it's so freaking funny. It's like you said, you're like, you might not have even paid attention to the other two, but after that one lands, it's like you remember the other two happened. So it's just kind of like a nice little subtle payoff, making you realize that subliminally you're chuckling to the other two. It's so well done.
I'm also going to throw it out there. I found the Nazi lady annoying.
Whoa.
Not Willy annoying, but here we go. There's another lady for Al Roker, Indiana Jones to fall in love with and have a little tryst on the side.
Well, yeah, he's got...
I don't know.
It's got to be his...
felt worn out.
It's got to be his James Bond best. He's got to have his lady of the movie. I get what you're saying, though.
Do you have to?
No.
You don't.
And we'll put that on the bad list. The bad list of bad thingitude.
Yeah, I'm just trying to help out by putting things on the negative side here because everyone else is all about the love. I'm about the love too. I'm just saying. I'm trying to even it out because Dan's not here for us.
I'm happy with the love in this movie simply because it gives us the amazing exchange between Henry Jones Sr. and Jr. Outside of that, it's like, again, here we go.
Did I read that right? That she also was having times with Henry Jones Sr.
Yes.
Yes.
Like, okay,
Yes. That's
what I
because it's
thought.
evident in the two comments. She talks in her sleep, and then also
Yeah, that was like, oh wait, what?
just as much as the next guy. I was the next guy. Like, yeah.
Okay, I missed that line.
That scene is amazing, though.
Which
The whole getting tied up in the chair.
Oh my God,
and
I
then
could-
having the conversation while the room sets on fire, and then they try to escape the fire, and they trigger the
Yep.
trap door until the Nazis see it, and then the Nazis try to act upon it, but they've already. It's a great series of scenes. I mean, the whole castle bit is good. I even take the crappy start of the castle with the "I'm trying to be Scottish." Wink, wink, because my father is. Wink, wink.
I agree with that. I don't know. I could speak ad nauseum about just that scene alone to the point where we could probably fill a whole damn episode. But I mean, just the way it goes from somber beginnings. You know, they lost what they had when they came in. Indy's clearly not on talking terms with his dad. You can tell the weirdness between the two while they're tied up, even though they're trying to get the ropes off and fight for their lives. But as that scene just keeps accelerating, fire, the whole room on fire, just the conversation swirling around with the trap door and everything else, it keeps on building on itself until it's just this incredible thing. And I don't know, that's probably the standout scene in the entire film for me. That is my favorite scene out of everything. I love everything about it. I love the quips. I love the jokes. Still one of my favorite quotes from the movie. Our situation has not improved. Like I love all of it. All of it.
I think I'd agree. I think that is the sequence or scene of the movie that really identifies and makes this film.
Absolutely. So I guess, does anybody else have anything else to add for funsies, or should we talk about things that detracted from the film? Because I've got a few.
I have a few, and
I think we were already in that section. We just kind of detracted from being detracted.
We're fluttering around.
I feel like it's super nitpicky at this point.
I don't know. I got a few that aren't nitpicky, but then I've got a bunch that are super nitpicky. I'll throw one gray area, like a half good, half bad thing I like, I guess. I like...
Sure, what is it?
I know, this is weird. I like that it was funny that this movie had rats, because it was new and different. But I also don't like that it was like, well, every indie movie's got to have some sort of phobia fetish. So let's see, the first movie's going to be snakes. Let's just put a shitload of snakes on screen. Second movie's bugs. Let's put a shitload of bugs on screen for all the people afraid of bugs. What are we going to do for the third movie? Oh, let's get rats in there because there's people who are afraid of mice and rats. So I thought it was hysterical, but...
Then it's monkeys.
And then it's ants.
People are afraid
Fire
of
ants.
monkeys.
Fire ants. You haven't been there yet,
See,
Joe.
I don't know. I thought it was monkeys.
You haven't been there yet.
Nope.
There's both.
There are both. That's very true. It's very true. Yeah, so I don't know. I found it... I love the rat scene. I love the catacomb scene, but I guess if I had to like gray area that one, I love it, but at the same time it feels like it's like a checklist. Like somebody's like, oh, we got to have a scene with this in it in this movie. And there it is.
Yeah, I hear you. Did this film affect anyone's understanding of who the Shriners were?
You saw the hats and it wrecked your whole childhood? Is that what you're saying?
It's like, hey, it's the guys in the little cars who bring the circus to town once a year.
So you were terrified and wondering why they're shooting at Indiana Jones. I understand this.
They're trying to protect their hospital. What's going on? This doesn't make sense. You know, if they really wanted to make a difference, they would have just brought those little cars out, and instead of riding horses into the desert, into the canyon to fight Nazis, they would have had little cars with little horns going beep, 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 and like throwing candy and stuff at them.
Yeah, or you missed an opportunity.
That's-
Little boats in the Venice chase scene.
Oh, little boats would have been so cute. And then you put money in the boot. They don't do that. Anyway.
On a positive, real Shriner note, that hospital down by Chicago helped my little brother get a new ear. So
Nice.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Not downplaying the Shriners Hospital at all. Or what the work the Shriners do.
No,
But-
I just want to throw that out there because mad props to them.
But they're not out in the desert protecting the Holy Grail.
No, and I guess I forgot to mention that, but that kind of brought a smile to my face because I realized why I like The Mummy so much. Getting off track, because it has kind of that same feel to it. Like, there's a secret society that's basically sworn to protect everything, and they're not the bad guy. They're somewhere in between, so you have them to deal with as well. I mean, I love that functionality in this movie as well as that movie.
So you chuck them into the propellers instead of the Nazis.
Yes.
Gotcha. Because every Indiana Jones movie needs a propeller.
Yes, that's actually one of my nitpicks. It's like, what the hell? It's gotta have a propeller. And am I wrong, but was it the same damn music score as well, too? When the camera
Could have been.
It was just like the bap, bap, bap. And it was just like the propellers going and they're getting closer. And oh no, I got a chuckle out of it. I was like, yes, it's right back to the propeller scene all over again, but this time with a twist.
Lemon or lime?
Boysenberry.
You can't twist a boysenberry.
Ooh.
It turns to mush.
Well, you still twisted it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it turns into juice. And that's how you get your twist of boysenberry in your gimlet.
You just gotta lick your fingers clean of your boysenberry juices.
Joe.
What?
Joe. Focus. Focus.
Yes.
All right, so we officially crossing the threshold into the room of people sitting on couches with their martinis, just talking like bringing up the scenes they didn't like.
I mean, we didn't do the pitch.
Right. We did not, but feels like another lifetime ago.
Yeah, at this point.
We'll just drop the pitch this week.
All right.
Was someone set on it? Did someone really want to?
I had a really short one.
Okay, pitch it.
All right.
Okay. Gentlemen, we've done Indy versus Nazi.
Yes.
We've done Indy versus a death cult.
Yes.
So now Indy fights
Yes.
his
Yes.
worst enemy to date.
Nazis?
His father.
What?
Like fisticuffs?
No.
Oh,
Blood? Oh.
Indy versus his daddy issues.
like hobo fights?
Oh my God! The marketing is
We'll do
genius.
Sean Connery. It'll
Quickly,
be perfect.
get Willard on the trailer.
Indy
There we go.
versus daddy
Yes!
Issues.
Which came first, Highlander or this?
Oh no.
Oh no.
Highlander.
I'm all for this, gentlemen. The trailer writes itself. I mean, I'm picturing this amazing trailer capped off with a Keeping Up with the Joneses pitch.
I'm with this man. And make sure to get a Nazi punch in there,
At least one.
at least.
Yeah,
That would be a way to
pretty
pitch that.
Yep.
It's really too bad he didn't
Yeah,
have an opportunity to punch Hitler.
He got really close though.
Oh man, yeah. When he bumps into Hitler, that scene as a kid made me
Yeah.
nervous.
Yeah, it did. This came before. Nope, Highlander came before by 3 years.
Right, I was right. I didn't look it
So-
up. I
Yep.
just guessed.
Highlander
My
was 8 or
executive
6.
would be like, yeah, I saw Sean Connery in The Highlander. That would be great for this film.
Ooh, yeah.
He likes peeping on people making out.
Yes, indeed.
I came up here to watch you have sex, Indy.
Don't stop on my account.
Please. I know we both tapped that, but you can do it again while I watch.
Jesus.
Oh. Let's stop that. I know it's just a goblet, but I probably could stick my penis in there. And it'll live forever. As long as I stay within these walls. God, it's just getting worse as I
It
go.
is.
You can't cross the seal. I have a gripe already, but I can't bring it up until we watch the next one. But anyways, I digress. I am extending the index finger of actuality here, and I'm about to get nitpicky on this film. Here we go. Why in the world didn't all the copious amounts of flames, embers, and ashes coming off of Indy's torch 3 feet above petroleum kick off the fire that a lit match did?
Oh my God! Why?
What in the world? What in the world?
How
I watched this time.
does Indy
I rewound
see
it 3 times
under
to watch the yellow hit.
quote unquote petroleum? How
Yes,
how would that burn?
I had that too. His eyes would be burning. They'd be burning.
How did the tissue paper that he used to make the rubbing, how did that survive getting wet?
Yes. Well, how about those ridiculous rat sounds? All the squeaking and the like, what the hell?
Rats actively make. They don't
No,
squeak
not like that.
I did like, though, that he's like, we need a torch. So he just grabs a femur and wraps some cloth around it, dips it in the oil, and starts it on fire. I'm like,
no reference.
No, Joe. He doesn't just grab a femur. He defiles a damn corpse.
For that.
He's ripping at that old clothing, and the bones are flying.
You're no one, Rip.
You're not the dude we're looking for. I'm
good.
using your leg. You don't need it anymore.
You do not belong in a museum. I actually really love taking things that we all just either don't pay attention to, or we do but don't care because everything else keeps us entertained. And that stuff like that, it's like, yes.
I had on my notes his survival in the middle of the ocean, Joe. You'd be proud of that.
How did he get back home?
He floated.
You saw how? Yes, he found a life
That
preserver,
doesn't
Dan.
explain how he got home. That explains how he survived the boat blowing up. Doesn't explain.
For 5 minutes before hypothermia set in. For non-lizard people.
I'm running out of things, guys. I also had the reuse the spinning of propeller. Okay, no, this is one that I really wanted to talk about, and I don't know how you guys feel with a fresh set of eyes on this. Okay, so it bothered me, and I still feel kind of weirded out by it. It's the same thing, and it really brought me back to Blade Runner.
Okay.
The scene in Blade Runner where Harrison Ford, I guess I should use names here, Deckard, forcibly kisses Rachel in his apartment is downright creepy, weird, and uncomfortable as hell. And that is the exact same vibe I got when he forced Elsa in her apartment.
It's because Rachel didn't retort afterward. Elsa does and makes it funny. It's still wrong, but she makes a joke of it, which makes it okay.
But in these situations, you don't force yourself on a woman for a reaction.
Nope. Product of its time? Is this fall under that? I don't know if it does or not.
I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say you don't shove your tongue down someone's throat without saying, "Is that okay?"
Yeah, because I guess I see that now. It had the same feeling, but if I had to actually go back and watch Blade Runner, I mean, that was, to me, that feels like it's like right on the edge before there'd be shoving or hitting involved, and it's just uncomfortable as hell to be there.
I'm totally with you, Andy. I know what you're talking about because I spent a long time talking about how uncomfortable that, and it's not good.
Nope.
And it's played out as being something romantic almost in that movie, and it's like, whoa, no, that's not.
Yeah, I mean, you take away the saxophones and the romantic music, and what do you have left? It's not a very romantic scene. And it's just it's hard for me to admit that because I love Blade Runner. It's one of my favorite films, and to think about that scene, it's like a dog turd sitting directly in the middle of a pile of jewels. And I just don't know how to feel.
Maybe it's in Harrison Ford's contract.
Yeah. Must have an aggressive kiss with female lead. Where she retorts, but then realizes, no, I want this.
I think he had an aggressive kiss with Willie, and she walloped him.
Not like this.
That. I think he might have also had an aggressive kiss with, I can't think of her name now, from the first movie.
Marion.
I think, no.
Marion.
I think Miriam Ravenwood and him was a lot more consensual.
Yes, they were more on the level with each other, because she's basically a female Indiana Jones.
And she's an ex, if you think about it.
They never really cultured that, sadly. But she comes back in the next one, right?
They have history.
Nope, don't tell me if it's that much of a pause. Forget it.
No, it's a matter of trying to remember awful on top of more awful.
Well, again, don't bother. Don't ruin it. Let me just let it wash over my body.
You don't want to be that kind of hype for the next movie. You really don't.
Yeah,
I'm hyped for this next movie.
Out of everyone I've ever talked to about this movie, Robbie seems to be the one who actually enjoyed it. And I can't believe it. I reminded him of all the terribleness. And he's like, it's not that it's a bad movie. It's just, it's not as good as the other ones. I'm like, it's a bad movie. There's a difference.
No, I don't know.
And usually Scott comes over and chimes in.
It's not. It's not bad until you
refrigerator.
Get towards the
right
end.
in the first 5 minutes, refrigerator, Dan.
Hey,
refrigerator.
Hey, spoilers.
I can't.
Stop it.
I got plenty of things to inspire you for this movie. So let me hit you with the softball first. You can watch Last Crusade and not have seen any other Indiana Jones movie, and you can leave perfectly satisfied.
Completely agreed.
Yeah, it is definitely its own little self-contained adventure. I love it.
I honestly think that's why I watched it so much, because it starts off with young Indy and ends with old Indy, adding a definitive capstone onto the adventures, or what should have been.
That's what's great about all of these Indiana Jones movies is they kind of take that, just this is a standalone adventure. This is something that happened at this point in time. Mm-hmm. It doesn't necessarily have to rely on you knowing anything about the character or anything. It's just they exist, and you can just watch them whichever direction you want to watch them in and still enjoy them. You just watch one of them.
Absolutely.
Why don't we just edit them all together and watch them as one movie?
No.
Yeah, 3 movies in one. That's a great idea, Joe. Now, that's a springboard into one of the things I want to talk about, Ken, is this is hard for me. So I feel like the video games, like Joe was mentioning, gave us better sequels to these movies than the movies did.
Yes.
I am so much more interested in the locales, the mythology and things like that of the things he was going after in the video games and in short stories and everything else, as compared to 2 religious artifacts movies mixed with a cult movie.
Which is a religious artifact.
Which is a religious artifact in a different sense, but I guess I meant more so like a religious artifact in India versus 2 Christian religious artifact movies, which this is where I get upset with the fact that it was such a 180 from Temple of Doom. It's like, oh shit, people got unhappy with us. We're going to have to bring it back. What do we do? I don't know, pull something else from the Bible. Let's get the Grail in there. There we go. It's just like, for me, the movies turned into Indiana Jones spends most of his time looking for Christian artifacts versus actually adventuring and finding all this cool shit that I didn't know about. And for me, that bums me out because it feels like a missed opportunity, because it's basically just, I don't know, like Temple of Doom gets me excited because it's something I have no freaking clue about, and I guess I should feel the same way towards Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but I don't. It's just, there's so many stones left unturned that they could have made into incredible plots, and instead we get this. But it makes sense for the movie, so I can't complain too much, I guess.
No, it's just a slight counterpoint is that they do kind of circumvent the fact that they're heavily Christian artifacts by not actually making it something that Indiana Jones is going after because it's something he wants to go after. He's usually coerced into doing so.
That's true. That is absolutely true, actually.
Coerced.
I mean, I'd almost argue that's not with an exception of the Ark of the Covenant. But this, I mean, like right from the get-go, I was cognitively thinking that as the movie started, that he doesn't really want to be here. The only reason he's here is because of his dad. And that's such a good feeling because it definitely instills that in you right off the bat, and it makes you just realize that the whole time the movie's going on that, holy crap, he's in this spot now, but he doesn't really want to be there. And you have to just keep remembering that, and it pays off. It really does. I don't know. I'm bummed out thinking about all the could-have-beens versus being excited about what we got. And I do that too often.
I felt that so much was going on in the, let's say, first 3/4 of this movie that they had to, I'll say, speed things up a little. So we go to this place where Papa Jones was and couldn't figure out the puzzle. Indiana Jones figures the puzzle out in 2 minutes.
I felt that, Joe. I felt that watching the scene again, where it's just kind of like, oh, I love this scene. Oh, wait, damn, I never realized how quick this all happened.
Was it Papa Jones not solving it, or was it Papa Jones getting kidnapped by Nazis?
He expresses such glee that his son figured it out. I can't believe that he honestly didn't figure it out.
And he was really close. He just
Right, can believe he didn't figure it out.
I don't think he figured it out. I don't think he did. I think he was right there, but the Nazis kidnapped him before he could actually go and break the library's floor.
That's why you don't sleep with Nazis. Okay, unless they're like super hot and the sex is really good and it's not going to go anywhere and that it's only temporary, then maybe you can sleep with a Nazi, but then you have to just regret it for the rest of your life. But then brag about how the sex was.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out why Henry would have continued sleeping with a Nazi once he found out she was a Nazi. Does that really call into question what kind of individual he is?
Well, he got rid of his little notebook, so he knew what was coming, I think. So he prepared for it and then was like, well, might as well keep doing it. Damn it, I still suck at it right now.
You had the old voice right. You gotta lean on that the bad Scottish.
It sounded more like an angry retirement home grandpa. Like complaining about the cello being too cold.
Oh, the Jello. I thought you said I'm complaining about the cello being too cold.
I
like,
yes, the cello is cold. I prefer my cellos.
I too
warm.
heard cello, but
So along with Papa Jones not being able to figure out the Venice, I'll call it, puzzle, then we have the ultimate Holy Grail puzzles at the end of the movie. The 3 really hard puzzles. The first being razor blades firing out of the wall, and I guess a whole handful of troops are so rock stupid they can't figure out to duck underneath the first one.
so this part actually,
But Indy does a duck and roll.
I say this part actually
but you would
bothers
get
me
past the first one.
because it says the penitent man. So like you'd think you'd crawl on your hands and knees. However, there's the one that comes through the floor. So like the riddle isn't true to even itself at this point.
It doesn't have to be.
But trial and error, they should have figured it out before how many people died.
I actually agreed with that before watching this time around. Watching this time around, I paid extreme attention to his role. Had he actually just kneeled down when the wind started picking up and when he was like muttering to himself, had he just kneeled down in that exact spot, it looks like the blades missed that spot entirely. Like it's like a little safety area that's almost like 3 feet squared. I don't know. So I almost feel like the trick is like don't run through, don't try to go fast and be greedy. Be humble when you get scared and kneel down. The blades go, and then you're like, oh, now I can move.
Don't be a tall dude so you get cut even if you are kneeling.
Yep. I completely didn't put 2 and 2 together. You said the Goonies, Joe?
Yeah.
This is Willie's organ scene all over again, isn't it?
This is Goonies stuff right here, man. And then the second puzzle, spelling Jehovah, but in Latin, Jehovah starts with an I. Well, that's one letter you can get wrong, and obviously that doesn't matter if you get it wrong because Indiana Jones, it was like, oh, wrong one, and moved on. It's not a hard puzzle.
Yeah.
And the last one's just about
And then
perspective.
same thing with the...
you kick some dirt out there,
exactly,
you can see it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all a lie, too. There's no faith involved. It's whatever physically is going on with that space. Gah. Lies. And bad puzzles.
And bad matte paintings.
I mean, if you were to put those puzzles into D&D, your players would have a real fucking hard time figuring them out.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, no, they would.
Well, because no one knows how to spell Jehovah. They'd like
in a different language, nonetheless.
I'd also roll a 2 for my dexterity and be like, well, sorry, you're dead.
That's the rules. It says right here. The rules that I wrote down. You're dead.
Rolls exactly a 2.
And then everyone would have to pick the right cup.
Yeah. So, Joe, did it sit as bad as I sold it to be? The tank scene.
What about the tank?
Remember how I was saying it's got, as much as I love this movie so much, it has my least favorite matte painting special effect out of all the series.
I'm trying to remember the tank.
Tank rolling off the cliff.
I don't remember it looking that bad, but I was also watching the DVD copy that was I had the DVD copy, I ripped the DVD copy, and it was a little compressed. So
gotcha, because there's some scenes that stand out, like
in Austria, that
castle,
thunderstorm.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure it was a sunny day when they filmed that.
Most definitely. Same with the blimp. When the blimp takes off and the Nazi gets up out of the luggage and shakes his fist at the blimp, it's very poorly cut. I don't know. There's a few of those throughout the film, but again, grain of salt. They did what they could before the age of special effects. I mean, we're still 3 years out from Jurassic Park, so I appreciate the living hell out of what they did with this. And God, it's so hard. Every time I start rambling about something that's nitpicking, it reminds me of a scene in my head, and I get all giddy. Like, as I was just saying all that, I just pictured Henry Jones blowing the tail rudder off the plane.
I'm sorry, Junior. They got us.
Damn it! It's just... You can't talk about this movie without it replaying in your head. I don't know. I can't think of anything else necessarily bad outside of some bad technical glitches and things like that, and trying to nitpick and say, like, Indy's too damn lucky.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think I would have traded off some of the action to get a more fleshed out story. Because once we got the history portion of Dad and
it really just takes
Junior,
off.
yeah, it becomes the movie of the MacGuffin. Which MacGuffin are you chasing? Where are you chasing that MacGuffin to?
Tastiest egg
And
MacGuffin.
that's how it ends, basically. Chasing MacGuffins everywhere.
I can understand that, yeah.
But overall, I'd watch it
I
again.
will
of
watch
course.
it again.
Oh yeah.
I will continue watching it, and this will always be the definitive capstone Indiana Jones
So
film for me.
Oh, just you
I
wait.
And-
learned something filming this.
Shut up.
This movie was the movie that Katie's dad always had her watch, and when I talk about Indiana Jones, she does this like shoulder shrug, eye roll, oh it's Indiana Jones. But I caught her laughing at a bunch of stuff in this movie. So
There's
for
so
as much as she hates Indiana Jones, because she had to watch it all the time because that's what her dad wanted her to watch, this movie still makes her laugh.
See, that's good. I had the same thing with Raiders. Nicole doesn't really care for Indiana Jones. She thinks they're boring. But there's still scenes in Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark that she enjoyed, and I could tell she was engrossed in.
But I interrupted you guys.
Ken asked the dog. What does the dog think?
She ran away. I put her.
You put her
She,
outside?
she ran.
What?
I think
guess
she
I
went
had
to
enough.
bed.
Oh.
Oh, man. And you didn't give her an ice cream? An ice cream for bed?
I don't have any puppy ice cream here. She's just visiting.
Oh.
She would love it though.
Should 3D print her some ice cream?
I'll give her some bacon.
There you go. That works.
So I assume you love birds with this movie will say that it holds
I would
up.
say a
all
majority
this
of this
time.
movie holds up.
Yes, there's one glaring thing that I can't stop thinking about that makes me want to say yes 100%. So, am I just led to believe that Henry Jones Sr. is just going to walk around the rest of his life with a bullet lodged in his chest?
Well, maybe the water that they poured there ate it up.
No.
I went.
Because I would expect it to melt the clothes then, too.
The Jesus
Unless
water
the bullet-
eats bullets.
No, you're onto something here, Joe. That bullet was most likely loaded by a Nazi hand, which means that evil touched the casing of that shell. So when he poured it on, it devoured the evil and disintegrated the evil a la the bullet.
Right, makes sense to
Except
me.
maybe it was so godly, goodly Jesus that the Jesus water pushed the bullet through and then healed.
I feel like he'd be in more pain as it healed him. Like, that would suck to go through. Unless it also is, like, laced with morphine or some shit. I don't know.
But Jesus is like, hey, I had a wound in my side. You can have one in your side.
I just assumed the bullet went all the way through. To be honest with you, he shot him in
Yeah,
the
there's
fleshy
that.
part, which
Actu-
the bullet. I have no idea what caliber that is, but it'd probably go through.
Wait, holy crap. I mean, you might be onto something, Ken. They did foreshadow on the tank, him blowing through 3 enemies. Maybe that's trying to tell you, without even asking, to just accept that the bullet went through Henry Jones.
Was it the same kind of
Was it
gun?
a Mauser?
Was it a
I don't know
No.
what it was. I don't
No.
remember
I mean,
what it was.
do the Germans have any other type of gun?
Lugers?
I thought it was a Luger on the tank, and then it was a Mauser in what's his name.
Oh, maybe I have them backwards.
But either way, it wasn't the same type of handgun.
No, yeah.
But
Whatever.
Yeah. Well, it did what it did to get him out of that belly of that steel beast.
But
Got him out.
if we're talking about the bullet going straight through, if you look at the close-up of the Jesus water hydrogen peroxide healing him, you also notice the bottom of his rib cage is right there sticking out. So
Yes.
that bullet would have broke a rib or
Mausers
something
would
too.
either be 7 or 9 millimeter.
That would not
No.
probably go through.
9 mil through the fleshy bits through your side abs. Sure.
But if it hits bone, it's his ribs right there.
Oh, I thought it was his side ab, his obliques, if you will.
That's a massive muscle that just sticks out.
It's Sean
there at the
Connery.
end. I only work out my sides.
Oh,
Am I getting better?
I think
That was
It's
a lot
getting
better,
better.
actually.
it does make me sad because I quote so much from this movie, and maybe half of it lands and half of it doesn't, but it all matters to me. there's so many times where I'll just mutter to myself, and suddenly I remembered my Charlemagne. Like, I don't know why. That has no relevance to me, but I love it. And then I don't know. I think my favorite quote walking away from this viewing was his angry deliverance of goose-stepping morons like you should try reading books instead of burning them.
Another great
I
line.
loved that quote. Yes. Yes. I'm just so angry that this isn't the last Indiana Jones movie.
It is the last
Growing
Indiana
up.
Jones Crusade.
It is. It's just, growing up, I understood that this was a trilogy. Growing up, I felt like I missed something, but I didn't because it was so good that I just kept watching it over and over again. So there was really no feeling of being sad that I didn't see it in theaters or anything like that. Like, I didn't feel the same towards Star Wars even, and I love Star Wars. And I guess it also, growing up in the 90s, you kind of realize that, eventually 3 more are going to come along, even though my parents had no clue and said, it's just a typo in the VHS. But, yeah, I don't know. Like, it was a humbling experience knowing there's 3 Indiana Jones movies. It's a trilogy. It ends. And it ends in a great way. So I can't wait until the next episode, Joe.
I'm so excited for you, Joe.
It's going to be some...
The
I'm so
all Indiana
excited,
Jones
too.
all reboot hour.
Oh, no.
But at least this one, I think, in my opinion, stands up. I think you can show this to someone today, and they would enjoy it just as much as someone did back then.
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. I don't think anybody that I've known that I've introduced this movie to or seen this movie with has had anything negative to say about it, really.
So this one, what holds this one? So this one. So this one holds up.
Yes.
I don't know why I had to restart that so many times.
I don't know, but that holds up pretty well, Joe.
Like Indiana Jones, you have to sometimes take the long way to get there.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes you gotta be sneaky and you gotta make people think you took a boat, but in reality you took a motorcycle.
Why
Great.
did he not just let that that boat go away before getting out of that crate?
I'm 32 years old and that still haunts me when I see it. It still drives me crazy. The timing of them just about to launch off from the dock and he goes roaring past. It's just, why? Why?
They were
10 seconds.
They were in the
15
boat.
seconds.
The dude was pulling all the way away from the dock. Couldn't give it just another. Had to gun it.
I'm gonna request we do something that I feel like this movie deserves.
Okay.
I feel like every one of us has to leave with our favorite hands down scene from the entire film, because there's so many to choose from. There's so many we could talk about ad nauseum. I just want to know what really gets you guys in all the right spots from this specific movie, because I'm just curious. I really want to.
Really wish you would have said this beforehand.
Yeah, so I could.
I know, but I'm just
favorite scene.
I can't let go. It's like a good memory going away.
I'll start. I'll say that I like this the castle. So that's tough because I was like, I forgot about the castle, saying that I really like that sequence the best, but the sequence where he has to go back to Berlin is really good, and then capstoning it with no ticket.
I was gonna say no
before
ticket
starting
is
the
probably
next
my
sequence.
favorite scene.
Yeah.
Either that or we name the dog Indy.
Working in IT, no ticket just makes me giggle because, of course, the first year working and in my first position in an IT job, I wanted to dress as Indy just so I could say no tickets. It's like, it just sticks. I don't know why. That's a good one. Ken?
You know.
I don't know, Ken. What are we talking about? What is your favorite scene, Ken? Ken?
That's a great question.
Is it Ken?
I can't believe you just spring this on me.
But did we? I
I'm
don't
so
know.
sorry. I'm so curious. I just want to know.
Instead of my favorite scene, how about we do the scene that I always think of when it comes to this movie, which is indeed the scene where they're tied to the chair and there's the fire going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you got the banter between Indy and Henry. And they're,
Yep.
yeah.
I'm going to have to hands down say that as well. I mean, it's hard for me because the other scene that tremendously sticks out to me is the motorcycle chase when he throws the broken flag into the motorcycle. You just see the coarse difference between father and son. Indy's laughing his ass off, and Henry Jones is just adjusting.
Did anybody notice that scene seemed eerily similar to the speeder bike scene on Endor in Return of the Jedi?
I was going to say pod
racing.
racing.
But pod racing probably pulled from that scene.
Pod racing hadn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And I don't want to waste it, but Petra is a great exterior. When you want a classic real-world ancient temple, wow. Can you get really much better than one that people hand-chiseled into a canyon wall?
Yeah, no, I became
not.
obsessed with Petra after this movie growing up as a kid in the 90s into 2000s, like just realizing that it's a real place and it was a movie prop and like just the history behind it. It's so freaking cool. And then being dismayed that it's not as big and sprawling and cavernous as you imagine it would be on the inside.
They did all that work outside, okay? Give them a break.
I know. They did a great job.
And the last moment of this movie that I fully enjoyed was seeing the name Dickie Beer in the credits.
Dickie Beer.
I don't remember what he did in the movie, but I was like, Dickie Beer. Oh, yeah. Every movie needs a Dickie Beer.
I bet Dickie Beer really liked having his name in there too until just about
Dickie
now.
Beer's a stunt coordinator.
Whoa! Even better.
Yeah, Sean Connery would be like, that's Dickie Beer.
That
He's
was
my favorite man on the set.
That was very good.
It's because the beer.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Apparently he's still doing stunt stuff.
Hell
He
yeah,
was the
Dickie
stunt
Beer.
driver in the new Wonder Woman.
Dickie Beer.
Yeah.
He's also a stunt driver in the
interesting.
Fallen Kingdom.
Oh.
Oh. They were driving in the Fallen Kingdom?
Yeah, away from the lava.
I was gonna say, what did oh, that's right. I mentally blocked a very substantial amount of that film out
I'm
of my
sorry.
Despite those other films, this was Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Rewound, but not yet rebooted. If you would like, comment, subscribe. That helps the YouTube algorithm. And once we finally release these episodes on podcast form again, like those and comment on those and leave reviews, because that will help move us into a position where people will actually notice another podcast among the millions of podcasts.
Right now we're just yelling into the void.
But are we expecting it to yell back?
If you yell into the void,
No.
does the void yell back?
I would like it to talk in a normal tone so that we could have a pleasant conversation.
Maybe
and
we
not
don't
have
need to yell
at
into the
each other.
void. Maybe we just need to have a pleasant
Well-
conversation with the void.
Well, I'll talk sweetly at the void. I'll be like, "Hey, baby.
I
hey, void."
prefer to avoid the void.
Avoid the Noid, Ken.
Oh, right.
He wants that delicious steaming hot pizza from you.
Pizza.
Well, why do you want to avoid steaming hot pizza? We're
know, but
distracted.
no one's gonna take
We're
it.
off
Calories,
track.
my
I mean,
dude.
the amount of times that I've burned the roof of my mouth, man.
Yeah, the Noid was maybe trying to help you all those times.
The Noid does not
No.
hold up.
Then
Especially if your name is Ken Noid.
So come back in 2 weeks when we set our sights on Indiana Jones and the Crystal of Death Doom.
Kingdom of the Crystal
What is
Skull.
the name of the movie?
Crystal Skull.
Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
It's a mouthful.
The reboot of Indiana Jones series. See us then when we rewind and reboot again!
Come on, man. We're talking about a crystal skull next week. We should be able to come up with something fairly transparent.
Oh, that's bad.